All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for coming. This is going to be a webinar today on our category page in Big Data Analytics. This is part of our Ezoic education program. The goal for today is really just to get you comfortable with this part of Big Data Analytics. We'll have a little bit of time at the end for some questions as well. My name is Sequoia. I'm part of our customer success team here at Ezoic. Some of you might even work with me. I'm a publisher success manager. I've been with Ezoic for a couple years now, so I've seen a lot of our accounts. I personally really love big data analytics. I use this all the time with my clients. I think it's a very useful resource, and I think it can really help with your content strategy. So let's get into it. So here I am in Big Data Analytics. The report we're referring to today is going to be under this content tab and this category page. I will note that before we get into it, you do have to set up your articles in your site to pull into this categories page correctly. We have a support article on that. If you need any help with it, just reach out to our support team, our success team, and we can help you get it set up. This site already has that set up correctly. So let's just take a bit to look at this report. So as you can see that they've tagged their pages correctly to filter by category. So what that means is that they've gone through and really manually tagged their pages all to be in these certain bins, so to speak. So here you can see that. This unknown one right here is because these are all the pages that they have not tagged to pull into this. If you don't have your site already set up in this way and you come to this report, you might see completely unknown. What we love about this report is it's really good for segmenting out your content and looking for anomalies. So a lot of sites, especially right now in the current climate, are trying to diversify their content strategy. They might be trying out a new niche. They might be trying out something new. So this is a great way to kind of cherry pick those sections of your website and compare them with performance. So really, what I love about these reports is that you can get incredibly granular with it. One thing I want to show you just to help you read them is you can pull these columns around, organize them however you like. I usually like to pull the revenue one over and then the bounce rate one over as well. Feel free to, mess with that, get it how you like it. Another thing here is this segment feature. So this segment feature is really cool. You can actually use any of our preset segments. So let's say I wanted to dive into desktop traffic. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to run this report. And now you can see it's segmenting out desktop traffic for me. And it's doing that with all of the categories that I have preset. Another great thing about segments is you can actually create your own custom segment. So if I go here and I go to new segment, I can really make this whatever I want. We have all these different parameters that you can choose from. You can name your segment whatever you like up here, hit save and apply, and then that segment will be saved for you within that report. So you can turn it off, turn it on, like any of these preset segments. It really just depends on how granular you want to get with it. If you're just starting out with big data analytics, just beginning to kind of look at your data in this way, you might just want to go with what we have already. Another thing you can do to segment out the data here would be our filters. Let's see, at their bounce rate. All right, so it looks like most of their bounce rate is between 20 and 30. I'm going to go ahead and set a filter here that tells me to include bounce rate that is less than, let's say, 20. I'm going to apply that, and there you go. Now it's filtering all that out for me. I can come back here to the filter. I can leave this filter on. I can add another filter. I can clear this filter out. So hopefully those few things help you get exactly what you're looking for with your data and what you're trying to find. And keep in mind, the purpose of this report is really just to inform you about how your different categories of content might be performing. So let's look for some anomalies in the data. Let's see, page RPM, these are all pretty standard, but oh, look at this one. It's got a pretty high RPM. Unfortunately, it has pretty low page views. This might be something that works well for them, but right now they're not getting a lot of traffic to that category. If I was, advising a publisher here, I might suggest them to create some more content around this category. You can also look at the different UX metrics here. If you're taking more of a UX metrics focused approach rather than revenue, it kind of just depends. Everyone's different. Another thing you can do, and I'm actually seeing this really common right now because of the COVID situation, is you can compare date ranges. So let's say I wanted to do the last 7 days compared to the previous period, which would be the 7 days before that, or I can do something custom as well. I'm going to apply that and select Run Report. Now I can see those two date ranges compared, and I can see the graphs that go along with this. Why might this be useful? Let's give a real life situation. A lot of my publishers have been augmenting their content strategy to include COVID-related things. This is an approach that can help drive traffic to your site if you were one of the sites that were hit by the May algorithm update, or you're just having a hard time with COVID. One thing you could do with this report is you could segment out from when you started writing that traffic, or when you started writing that content to when you didn't, and compare those date ranges just to see how it's performing, to see how it's monetizing, to see how your users are liking it. I'm going to go ahead and clear out this date range. My personal preference when it comes to date ranges, just when I'm starting out, is I always like to grab 30 full days worth of data. It's just a good sample size. I think the data is reliable and it gives you a pretty accurate picture of what it's going to look like. A couple more things on this report that I think are worth noting. So right here, you can actually toggle between the different graphs. Let's pick one. We'll do bounce rate. So see, and now it populates that graph, and I can do this with any of them, and they'll all pop up. For this report specifically, like I said, it kind of depends on the publisher, but let's say this publisher is UX focused. I might want to go through all these different UX reports and see how they look, see what they look like. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm a visual person, so I really like these graphs. Other people might just want to get in and look at the data of it. Some options that you have. Move this filter from earlier. Another really useful part of big data analytics, which we just added actually, was this annotation feature. So with this annotation feature, you can basically just create little notes within the big data analytics to mark what you've done. So in that example earlier, I said we were comparing date ranges from before COVID to after COVID. I could create an annotation here that would allow me to mark that date so I don't have to go back and figure it out again. Those annotations will stay, we'll save them for you. They'll be there the next time you come back to this report, as well as with your segments and any filters you create too. So it's a really great way to look at your content on a more granular level. And what I always try to remind publishers when looking at data is, think about the big picture. It's easy to get kind of zeroed in onto, one piece of data. Why does this category have a lower bounce rate than this category? Try to think about the big picture here. What direction is your content strategy going in? What are you guys trying to achieve? How can this data help you get there? I also really like to sometimes export this data. So big data analytics is awesome. I spend most of my time in here. Occasionally, we need to actually export this data and throw it into Excel. You can do so right here. So you can either get an Excel file or a CSV, which you could throw into Google Spreadsheets or something like that, or you could simply save it. I do have some publishers that are more comfortable with Excel than they are with this, so they'll choose to do that. It's really your preference. That's really all the bells and whistles I would say of this report. I think you can also search for things here. But again, in reality, what we're using this report for is to segment out our content, look at different anomalies, see which ones are performing much better than others. You can see on this site, there's not too many huge anomalies. We have a few outliers, but nothing really crazy. That might not be the case for your site. An example of this I can think that would be a little practical for you guys would be, let's say, a technology site. A lot of technology sites will write articles on, different news pieces and things like that in conjunction with certain review articles. Review articles always do really well. The why behind that is because those products that you're reviewing, those advertisers actually can tell that through the keywords in the article, and they're going to bid really competitively on that content. So if I was able to segment out those review articles versus just kind of my normal articles, I would definitely expect to see some big differences in RPM here. That might be informative for you. You might not have known that beforehand. So that's just one example. I have a lot of publishers who use this report all the time. I think it's a great report and something that you guys will definitely make use of. All right, I'd like to jump into a question Q&A section. So if anyone has any questions for me, please feel free to send them along. Here we are, Q&A. How long does it take to get data? With big data analytics, usually we have data in around 1 p.m. for the previous day. So if I was looking at yesterday's data, that would be coming in a few hours at 1 p.m. PST. So try to give it about 12 hours after the day. We're all located in California, so when we give out time estimates, it's based upon PST. But I can go back and get all the data for days before that. Which country traffic is more valuable per revenue? So when it comes to quality of traffic, this can be really impactful on your ePMV. Geolocation is one of the major things that determine this. So US and UK traffic usually pays out the highest, followed by Australian traffic, European traffic, other and it just kind of goes down from there. It's definitely US and UK, though, that pays the most in terms of geolocation. No, RPM is not the same as ePMV. So RPM is revenue on the page level. So revenue over over impressions just for that specific page. ePMV is on a session level, so it may include multiple page views. All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap things up then. As always, if you have more questions about this, if you need help getting it configured for your site, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out to your Publisher Success Manager, your Ezoic rep, or our 24/7 support team at support@ezoic.com. We'd be happy to help you get it configured. We'd be happy to help you look at the data. And even your Publisher Success Manager can give you a personalized demo looking at your specific data and helping you draw insight from it. So don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help. I hope you guys all found this webinar helpful today, and you're all staying safe and healthy. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.